All right, here we are for episode 2 of She Talks with Amy, your host, Amy Hood, and I am by myself today. This is something new that I'm trying to, just kind of try out and see what works, what doesn't, what you guys like, what's helpful, that kind of thing. So, one of the reasons, again, that I'm doing this, and I talked about this in the last episode, is to give you more of me. This seems really counterintuitive, to be honest, because I honestly don't think that I'm that exciting and why anybody would care. But what I've learned over the years is kind of like we're all a little bit of stalkers. And we love, especially if you're a therapist, to kind of know the tea and what's going on and what makes people tick, all that kind of stuff. So if you're on TikTok at all, which you probably are, like I'm a avid TikTok person since before the pandemic, like way before anybody did. I got made fun of a lot for it and all that kind of stuff. But what else is new? But there's a girl in there, Morgan Rose, I think Rose, I don't know how you say her last name. And she is 28 years old, living her best life in Denver, goes out all the time, parties, all this kind of stuff. And there are lots of us who tune in just to hear her talk about her weekend and really kind of live vicariously, because my life is totally not that. I'm a 44-year-old woman in Jonesboro, Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, married with a stepson and two businesses, three if you count the property business. And so I'm sure not going out and partying and all that kind of stuff. But it's very interesting to hear, wow, here's how somebody else lives. So I'm not going to promise to be as entertaining as Morgan, but hopefully I'm going to kind of crack the door open a little bit and let you in. I'm going to get to introduce you. You're going to get to meet people in my life from a business perspective. Therapy, you met Aaron last time. You're going to meet some of my family, maybe even my husband if I get him on here. We'll see. He's super busy and hard to pin down for things. But again, that's the purpose of me coming on and doing this She Talks, because I wanted to a space where I get to talk about the things that interest me, that I think might interest you, and help you as a person, a business owner, not just Sandtray therapy. Although I love Sandtray therapy, I do. I have other channels, other avenues where I get to talk about all those things. And of course, Sandtray is kind of what it is. It's my jam, but this is Sandtray and so much more. So as I was thinking about today and what I wanted to talk about, what you might be interested in, the phrase that kept coming up for me, just in, again, my personal life, things have been going on in our church, in my personal life, meaning like my family, again, moved across the state 5 hours away. I get to see them this weekend. I'm super excited about that, though. And being able to deal with those big feelings that comes up. And one of the things I'm learning as a business owner and just a person is that both can be true. Now, what does that mean? If I am just thinking from a person perspective, I am very happy that my parents are with my brother and sister-in-law and the grandkids up there are doing amazing. They are very, very happy. I'm happy for them. I am also sad. And I kind of have anticipatory grief in some ways. So I can be happy for them and sad for me, and both can be true. My husband and I talk about this a lot. Both can be true. It is okay and very normal for both can be true. I can be really excited about something like this, and I can be really, really scared because this is a new format for me. I don't really know if this is something you guys want or need or find interesting. Both can be true. So what I want us to think about again, from a personal and then a business perspective too, both can be true. Both can be true. So you can be feeling like I need to go into private practice, I need to work for myself, and I'm scared shitless. Both can be true. Both can be true. And one does not negate the other at all. We can be really happy about something, and then there's a part of us that is really sad too. Like, I filed for divorce 3 years ago, over 3 years ago now. No one files for divorce lightly. No one I know, anyway. But when I left my husband, I was relieved. There was a huge feeling that I felt like this was a move in the right direction for my life, my health, my sanity. And I was also super, super scared. And not even scared, but more sad. I cried all the time. And it was this paradox of like, well, Amy, you're making this decision. Why are you so sad? Well, it's because both can be true. We can do things that are hard and break our heart, and they're still good. Both can be true. When we allow ourselves, again, as business owners, as therapists, and just moms, stepmoms, daughters, whatever, both can be true. So I encourage you to think about what this looks like when you're making decisions for yourself. You're thinking about working with clients. Maybe you're looking at your business. What is it that you want to allow yourself to feel or say that both can be true? Now, on a side note here, this is something that I learned from my good friend, Rebecca Barber. You guys are probably going to meet her in the next few episodes. I'm not sure when she and I can meet up, but you guys will get to know her because I've gleaned a lot of wisdom, and being friends with her over the last 20 years made me a better person. So again, I want to introduce her to you, and she has a lot of interesting stories about business. She's also a therapist and a clergy person. So, and what that looks like to work with clergy members and people of faith. So, again, one of the things that she told me, which is stuck in my brain, is that when you use the word but, all that does is negates whatever you said first. So, anytime you feel yourself wanting to say but, I challenge you to replace it with the word and. So, it may be like, I love my kids, but they drive me crazy sometimes. I love my kids and they drive me crazy sometimes. Both can be true. Again, what is it that because I feel like for me, and I bet for you too, I have not let myself feel or think certain things because I thought, well, that's not right. We can't feel that. We can't. No, both can be true. My grandmother, she died many years ago of a brain tumor. Was a really hard death. Hardly anybody gets lucky enough to have an easy death. But we were sad. And I said, but we were sad and we were relieved. Both can be true. So again, I challenge you, if you find yourself having resistance about a new opportunity, something that is coming up for you in a business or a personal, and you go, oh, I shouldn't feel that way, no, both can be true. Both can be true. And again, see what that kind of sets for you. Okay, so that's my first little tangent here not really tangent, but something that's been on my mind, what's going on here. I am a member of the Episcopal Church, and so we are gearing up for Holy Week, and I have Holy Week activities tonight. So lots of reflection, lots of contemplation, things like that. So what rattles on in this brain often comes out, and that's what I want to share with you. Okay, so let's pivot just a little bit. And this is, again, something I have a business consultation program. And we're getting ready to launch another wave of that. It's all about pivoting your practice is what we're talking about. Well, right now I have people who I'm working with kind of in a maintenance phase, in that they went through my program and now we're doing follow-up. So I had a conversation yesterday with one of them, Leanne, who lives in California. I know she wouldn't care for me talking about this, in that when you look at how much we therapists make per hour, like I'm thinking about more in private practice, people are like, oh, wow, you just make a lot of money. Not really, for a ton of reasons. But one of the big reasons is for us, not many therapists can bill 40 hours a week. Because 40 hours a week of therapy is 40 hours of hard, focused work. And so most of the studies say the people, if you have a desk job or an office job, you can really get about 4 hours of focused work out of a person. And the other might be fill-in time or busy work or things like that. So most people are working about hard work about 20 hours a week. So when you are thinking about yourself in private practice and how much you want to make and all those kind of things, so I want you to, again, think about an hour of therapy, again, is an hour of hard work. So if you have 4 or 5 clients a day, that's intense. That's a lot. So we don't compare ourselves to someone who's billing insurance or something like that. It's a very different job. So I wrote a blog post for Tamara Settle. She has a lot of resources for private practice and things like that. And I will link the blog post below this as an infographic I wrote probably about 10 years ago for her. And it was one of those things that went kind of semi-viral. And every so often it pops up. And it was one of those, again, that I just had an idea and something I'd been talking to people about. And it was, why am I so tired? And it was kind of subtitled, What Every Therapist Wishes Their Partner Knew. And this is specifically talking about people who are in private practice and business, but also it is just therapists in general. So I'm going to give you 6 reasons why you are so tired and how to accommodate for that. So I went out to the blog post to make sure I didn't forget any of them. So this is kind of what I'm referring to here. Number 1, the stakes are high. How many times have you made a hotline report that you are dealing with someone's grief, that you are trying to make sure that you can move forward in that person, help them in their career, their marriage, whatever it is? The stakes are high. You know, if we have the privilege of talking to a person and becoming part of their lives, but it's definitely not something that is akin to maybe checking out somebody at Kroger. It's very, very different. So when we have that privilege, responsibility, it comes with the stakes are high. It comes with a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's one reason why that you're tired at the end of the day. Because what happened, again, is when I would tell people, oh, I'm exhausted, sometimes they would get into this like, well, you're not digging dishes all day. Well, no, I'm not, but I'm still exhausted. And then I kept thinking about why that is. So again, this is what led to this blog post about a decade ago. And lots have changed in the world since 10 years ago, but not this stuff. Okay, so again, the stakes are high. 2, you are having constant conversations when you're in therapy. And your brain can only adequately process like 1.6 conversations at a time. And when I say conversations, is I'm listening to them, but also that mental load. So 1.6 is about what any brain can process the highest. So again, thinking about when a client's talking to us, we're listening. That's 1. We are also thinking about what we are going to say back to. And then 3rd, we're also having this constant process in our brain to conceptualize, how does this relate to what's going on before? How does this relate to what's happening now? What else is going on in their life? So it's really, we're operating twice what our brains can deal with just load-wise optimally. So that zaps the oxygen, that fuel that works your brain. It makes you really, really tired. Okay, so we got 1, 2, now 3 is another reason, is that how, again, this is set up, especially, again, if you are in private practice. meaning that you don't get to just do 6 hours of therapy and sail on home. That's just not how it works. You wear multiple hats. You are wondering what is happening with home. You thinking about what notes I have to do. What is happening with your billing. Um, Taking out the trash, cleaning bathrooms, managing all that business is a whole nother job. That, again, not many people who are in business just get to sail in and be like, la, la, la. And then maybe eventually, like True Hope is kind of that way now, but True Hope is also 17 years old. And kind of like when you have a newborn baby, you don't get to just sail in and go pat, pat, and leave. It's very similar when you're starting a business. It's just the stages of growth. And one of the things I want you to think about is that your business now is a reflection of what you did in the past. And just like where you are now, well, the things you're doing now will be reflected in the future. So it's not an immediate thing. And that can be the good and the bad news, to be honest. So one of them is also the crunch, what I call the crunch. And what is the crunch? I have to get this in. I have to do this right now. There's time for a lot of things in therapy. You have to get notes in. You have to do all this. AI stuff has been amazing, to be honest. Like, we use Therapy Notes at True Hope, and Therapy Fuel is amazing, the AI version of that. Some of my therapists use Scribe. That's also something else. That listens and writes the notes for you. Some people don't, some people do. That's something we'll be talking into in another episode here about the AI faction of that, and how some therapists, it's kind of dividing in some ways. But that's a different episode. So you got the crunch. You have to do things. You have to make sure your bills are paid, all this kind of thing. And that is wearing as well. You also have mirror neurons. So mirror neurons, when we're working with a client and they often are having not good days, we don't usually see clients when they're just amazing, maybe eventually, but especially not at first. And your brain will embody, because of mirror neurons, and we as therapists have highly attuned mirror neurons. Because of that, our brain interprets what we are hearing and what we're connecting as it's happening to us. So you are doing that hour after hour after hour after hour. Like, think about when you've had a really, really bad day and you are just, at the end of the day, you're just exhausted and you just can't even move forward. Well, your body is doing that 6, 7, 8 hours a day for however many clients you see. And again, how is that not draining? It's very, 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 very draining. So again, another reason why we're so exhausted at the end of the day is that, again, the how of therapy, what is going on, how we are relating to other people. Again, wearing all the different hats makes us so tired. So there are definite things that we can do to make things better, such as, like I would say, have a life is one of the other ones. I'm going to get into another episode, all the what to do now. That'll be next time. And I'm going to link again the infographic below the blog post so you guys can look at that for yourself. So hopefully that is helpful and it makes you feel not so crazy when you are exhausted and you just want to say no more words. That's hard, and I say just, like doing therapy by itself. But if you have a business on top of that, it's double so. You're really working 2 full-time jobs, because running a business itself is a full-time job, and being a therapist is a full-time job. So I want us to, again, think about ways to be kind to ourselves, to have that radical acceptance and go, yes, I like doing therapy, and sometimes I don't. It doesn't have to be, but it can be both. Or I like the freedom of being my own boss, and it's really hard. It can be both. Or how about, I thought this was my dream job. of being my own practice, and I get really lonely. It can be both. So again, talking about this, the sixth reason is, again, all this stuff that how therapy works, confidentiality, we keep all that inside. We can't go home to our client and go, or to our partners or anybody, and go, I had this really, really hard session today, and this is what happened. This person is suicidal. Our ethics don't allow us to do that. And so keeping your brain and body is experiencing all that, and keeping all that inside is exhausting. We're not meant for that. We're meant for connection and meant to do that. So this is another reason why it's super important that you get good training. You have a cohort of people who you can talk to, therapists who are all, people who are going through the same thing you can, and that will help with the exhaustion as well. So again, I hope this was a little bit helpful to you guys. This is something that I, again, have been rattling around in my own personal head all week about. I feel something about this one way, and I also feel a different way. How does this make sense? One of the things that I'm working on in my personal life is to allow myself to have feelings, to express that, and to not put something like I shouldn't. And I know this is CBT type stuff too, but to allow myself to express those feelings and be sad, not to be embarrassed, not to be anything. And that's okay. We don't have to stay there, but it's okay. So that is, again, a growing edge for me just personally. And hopefully that spills over into my professional life too, as being able to go, it's okay. It's okay, Hemi. We can have these feelings. That doesn't mean we have, like what we tell the kids. You can be angry. It's what you do with your feelings that get you in trouble. Sometimes as adults, we forget that, and business owners. And so again, we want to be able to have a community, have a cohort of people who go, I get it, and here's maybe how I have figured this out. So that's really what we're offering in, of course, the Sandtray Suite, but also in the new business program that is going to launch here in just a little bit. So, yeah, and I love to nerd out about business and how that interacts with our life and how that interacts with therapy and so on and so forth. So again, hopefully this is helpful, and feel free to comment below, subscribe to our channel. And again, we'll be linking this in the show notes as far as that link to the blog post that I did, again, about 10 years ago. I was a lot younger, less wrinkles, all those kind of things then. But again, the concepts are still the same. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, leave a comment, email, whatever. I can't wait to interact with you guys and hopefully get to know you soon, and you get to know me. All right, bye.